people are always expecting someone else to do this. And I think people have to say, no, each of us have to be responsible for the planet and for our future and kind of creating a good future. You can't look to Big Brother to do it, and I don't think you should look to the ETs to do it. It's not that they're not going to help us if we at some point we reach a point of being functional as opposed to dysfunctional. But I think the prime movers have to be the people. I think people have to see that within the human spirit we have the means to do this. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people give too much power to where I don't think it should be provided. To these covert groups and these sort of cartels. I think, again, I'm getting back to this idea of empowerment where we have exactly the power. But if we're going to sit on our hands and expect someone else to do it, we're in trouble. And there's been too much of that. And there needs to be, I guess, some moral courage here. And I this is what sickened me about, the politics of the media and, all these scandals like you were talking about with Petraeus and, during the Clinton era, the Monica Lewinsky thing, I call it that it's just so much nonsense. Yeah. Whereas these big issues are the moral issues, as I see it,
The people in power have always tried to keep in power and suppress others.
Well, they do.
And they do. But I think also, if you look at the power of technology to overwhelm everything, including the head spook of the CIA. I mean, he was essentially overwhelmed by email. That's what took him over. It was the FBI looking into things, but essentially it was all done through electronic means. It was all done through – he was revealed by the very powers that the CIA uses in the first place. They're spies.
And the National Security Agency even better.
The top spy was spied on. Mm-hmm. It's – in my opinion, when I look at human history and I look at where you just try to extrapolate – when I try to extrapolate where we're going, it seems to me that it's all symbiotically connected to technology, and that seems unavoidable. That's why I have such a hard time with the idea of someone creating some zero-point energy thing that's not that people aren't looking into. Enough people know about what Tesla was working on. Enough people are fascinated by the ideas of wormholes, and I just would think that more people would be involved in this, and that the government, with all its shady, nefarious arms, wouldn't be able to put out all of those fires.
But a lot of it's self-censoring. For example, I'll give you a really good example. There was an academic guy that I was talking to recently, and he was wanting to push into this issue. And basically, he was told, no, you're not going to do it at this university because this is violating the second law of thermodynamics and blah, blah, blah. In a rational world, which is what you're talking about, I would agree with you. But we don't live in a rational world. We live in a world where there are a lot of emotions and power hierarchies and all kinds of dysfunctions. And so you have to factor that into the equation. And I don't think you can underestimate the reach of the national security state, not just here but around the world, to put out these fires no matter how many times they try to surface, unless it's done in a very large way. And I didn't believe that, and I've learned the hard way trying to do it in a smaller fashion. From this, like the story I told you about this scientist who works in a SCIF down near the Huntsville Space Flight Center, Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville. And I think what we are going to have to do is organize an effort that is very much outside of government and mainstream corporations and even academia. Because academia, if you have never been in it, is so political. I mean, you touch these sort of issues, and it's the end of your career. I'll give you a great story in terms of other institutions. The National Science Foundation is a very big player in global warming studies and all this kind of stuff. And the deputy director of that, and Dr. Bob Carell, and I had a long meeting with another person who was one of the 5 directors of NASA back some years ago. And he was very interested in exactly what you're talking about, these sciences and studies. And I said, look, we need some people at the National Science Foundation to really take this on as an area of research, development, funding, etc. He says, it'd be the end of my career if I did this. I said, well, here it's the future of the Earth or your career. What are you going to choose? Let's choose the Earth and our future. But the truth is everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time. And a lot of folks are not going to jeopardize their careers and their income. A very famous astronomer who worked with Carl Sagan was at our meetings in 1997 that we did for Congress. And after he did that with us, he was told if he ever wanted to be published again, write again, or have a career in astronomy, he'd have to leave this issue alone. So he was directly threatened. And he begged me to keep going forward, but that he couldn't be part of it. And so I think that, most people don't realize that this happens every day. And it's kind of a miracle that this many military and corporate and intelligence people came together this far. But I won't even begin to tell you what we've gone through trying to get this far. It's been very difficult. And so for every person you hear about and that you see in this film series or in the Disclosure Project, there are 100 that have given me the information and even documents and intelligence, but they don't want to come out and be identified. So there's a lot of fear of either reprisals, but also just the ridicule factor. Mm-hmm. I have a document from 1953 from the CIA that talked about engaging Disney Studios to make cartoonish movies about this issue so that it would be the butt of jokes. Mm-hmm. And this document talks about the psychological warfare value of the subject. So people are sort of like, in middle school where you're worried about what are people going to think about me if I say I think this is real? Are you going to lose credibility if you're a doctor or a physicist or an engineer or a politician?
Wasn't that all part of Project Blue Book? Wasn't that part of what they were trying to do?
This predated. This actually predated that when they were first coming together with how do we manage this because it's hidden in plain sight. People are going to see these objects. There's no way to really sanitize it. People think you can really get rid of this. Well, you can if there's a certain number of people seeing this all the time who are highly credible. So, but if you create a milieu, an environment where it's ridiculous and you're considered a kook or this or that, if you're identified with it, or you'll be, Governor Moonbeam or Senator Space Cadet or something, and this is one of the real problems, is that the subject has been so ridiculed and there's so much ridiculous stuff out there on the subject that's provably nonsensical. That credible people really have to swallow hard. I have to tell you, the scientists that are at this major Ivy League university doing the work on this little body, this humanoid type body, it's a big thing for them to be working on this. And it's even a bigger thing that they're going to go on the record about their findings. We have the CAT scans. We have the reports from these top scientists. The only thing left that we're doing is running the genome, which is the whole genome.
Has this damaged your credibility in life? I mean, have you suffered because of this in any way, shape, or form?
Sure.
Of course. In what way?
Every way.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's been the hardest thing. I tell people the worst days in the ER where I held a 3-year-old that died in my arms. This has been harder.
It's harder than the death of a little baby, really?
Yeah. The stuff we've had to deal with.
Like in what way?
Horrible stuff. Every nasty thing that can be done has been done or attempted to be done to us, my family, and targeting me with nastiness, of just unbelievable
ridicule.
Nastiness.
And
no,
this
it's no beyond
press,
that. Threats. And yeah.
People threaten you to what? Stop talking about UFOs?
I mean, there's an FBI file open on this because of the death threats and this stuff we've had.
Really? And
yes.
so you think these death threats are from these people that you're exposing that are in the cabal of this international...
Well, who knows where they're coming from? You could just say it was some nut job, like the people who shot up the Sikh temple, where our director's family, as you know, his father was murdered horribly at this thing. And, I'm just saying that it's a lot easier being an emergency doctor than dealing with this issue when you know it's real and you're dealing with this level of intelligence in the CIA.
Has this affected your career?
You only have 24 hours in a day. At a certain point, I had to decide I'm either going to continue as a physician or I'm going to go full steam on this. Now, of course, it was a big sacrifice for my family. I was giving up hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as a doctor to do this for nothing. So it's been difficult. So that's what I'm saying. It's been difficult in every way.
It's a tremendous sacrifice, especially because it's something that you really truly believe in.
Former head of Army Intelligence approached me in 1992 and offered me kind of control over a $2 billion fund if I would shut up and close down the Disclosure Project in CSETI.
Control over a $2 billion fund?
With a B.
To do what? What did he want you to do?
He just basically wanted I could do anything with it, so long as I would shut.
You could just go
shut
big
up.
pimping, giant yacht, Ferrari.
Who knows?
No more Dr. Greer.
And then, when I said, no, I'm not going to do that because I really believe that this issue needs to be dealt with properly, the guy went to my wife and tried to convince her to convince me. And this, this is the kind of
Well,
nonsense.
did he want you to work for him, or he just wanted you to
Yes,
shut up?
he wanted me to merge what we were
Merge.
doing with some operation he had, which would have basically subsumed it and co-opted it. And I said no. And then he made another run, and I said no. And then about a month after that, all over the internet, it came out that I wasn't even a doctor. Here I am in this emergency department, and it's a bunch of goons put out there that I'm not even an actual MD. And I'm there, up to my eyeballs in blood and guts in the ER, and this thing breaks. So, they do all kinds of disinformation and psychological warfare stuff on people. But I don't really mind that that's happened. What I'm more concerned about is the people who have the knowledge and responsibility who don't do the right thing, because there's no way that I can do this by myself. And what I was really gratified to see, and I'm still gratified to see, is are all these people, military men and women and others who've come forward very courageously, academics like the ones doing the work on this potential little humanoid creature, which is a real creature. What it is, we don't know, but it's a really courageous thing for these people to be doing that. The people who led the charge in France to release all those documents, I know the backstory to that the public doesn't know, and it was very controversial. So, I mean, this is the kind of courage we need to get the truth out and to go forward as a civilization. And so, you can't buy it. You got to have it. You got to manifest it from inside.
Are you getting income from this?
No.
You don't even take a salary?
No. Oh, no. No, it's all gone into the film.
But you list expenses. Like, don't you list several hundred, like $270,000 or something in expenses that you charge to create this film? Wasn't that part of
that's
it?
the production company. Because I'm not a filmmaker.
Right.
And I don't ask me to turn on a camera.
So the money
we have
goes
people
to this production company, and
yes, and then of course we're gonna we have to organize the premiere, and of course being crowdfunded, you have to fulfill all the incentives for the crowdfunding. I don't know if you know how crowdfunding
Yeah,
works,
I
but
do.
I want to thank everyone who's listening, by the way.
Did you do
for the generation.
Kickstarter or something along
Yeah, we
those
did
lines?
Kickstarter and then our own private program, and we have like 4,000 people who have contributed funds to this, which is really a huge number of folks. And by the way, all of you folks who've done that, I just want to, can I say this?
Please.
The premiere is going to be here in Los Angeles on Earth Day, April 22nd, at the LA Live, the Regal LA Live Cinemas downtown, the Premiere Theater. And so that's April 22nd. If you want to come, you can kind of sign up and get tickets at SiriusDisclosure.com.
I'm writing that in my calendar right now. I'm going to try to make that. That sounds really fascinating.
Hey, tweet it for us, and you're invited
yeah.
to come. You'll
I'll
come
tweet-
as my guest.
Please, I'll tweet the shit out of it.
I'd love to have you as my guest if you want.
I would love to go.
It's going to be an exciting event. I mean, the theater only holds 809 people, of which about half of those seats are already spoken for. But those of you who want to come, just hop online and. The system is set up so you can do it all digitally. It's not going to be tickets at the door, though.
Okay. What is this thing that you're doing where you lead people out into the desert and you have them make contact with something, ethereal crafts and beings, and what is that?
Well, that's the whole CE5 concept I was talking about, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, that we're using these different protocols. And by the way, there's a smartphone and an iPhone app for this that you can get at SiriusDisclosure.com. So it has all it'll actually turn your phone into a magnetometer. It has the tones that were recorded in this crop circle of this weird energy that came into the crop circle.
I can get this on my phone right now?
Yes, you can download it.
What is it called?
It's called the Contact app.
I'll
You can go to SiriusDisclosure.com, and there's an icon there, and you can link, and it goes to either the iTunes store or the Android store.
Okay, and tell me what happens when you take these. You'll take anyone out there? Do they have to go through a screening process?
Yeah, there's an app. I mean, it's a course. We do about a week training of people in remote viewing and the protocols of contact, and there's sort of the whole concept of it, but also how to look at the night sky. You go out with satellite charts. We have fourth generation night scopes. We have really good cameras. In fact, we're going to be doing one in Colorado in June in the high desert. I have some land up there.
What is the actual name of this app? Because there's a couple contact apps.
Well, again, you have to go to SiriusDisclosure.com, and there's a link there for it. The name of
You
it
don't
will
know
be
the
on the
name
site.
of your own app?
You know what? I have so many irons in the fire. I think it's called ET Contact app.
Oh,
But-
ET Contact. Let me try that. ET Contact app.